everyone. Welcome to Around Town with Rotary. My name is Michael Harrington. I'm with the Beverly Rotary Club. This is a monthly show we produce to familiarize some of the folks around Beverly with some of the great members of the Beverly Rotary Club, some of the cool activities they're involved in, both professionally and as members of the Beverly Rotary Club and otherwise. So in any case, we're delighted to be here today. I'd like to introduce my wingman, my co-host Al Temkin, and Al's going to bring on and introduce our special guest here today. Go ahead, Al.
Thank you, Mike. We have with us today Tim Flaherty, and Tim is currently the president of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. He is the executive director of our local Y, of which I am a member, and I attend as often as I can. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Tim, and we look forward to learning a whole lot more about you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
for joining us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So before we get into career and your work with Rotary and your work with the Chamber and all the other things that we will get to, tell us a little bit about growing up in Beverly. What are some of the memories that come top of mind?
Yeah, a lot of great memories growing up. When you're younger, Beverly was not as big. So I grew up in North Beverly. So I remember just traveling throughout the woods when you were younger. There was no phones back then, and traveling through the woods, skating on Noah's Pond, and going through all North Beverly, and going over to Ryle Side was like a day trip. But we just kind of made sure we were home before the streetlights, came on, and that's just the way it was. That's how the world worked back then.
Right.
And so during, especially the summer months, I'd be gone all day and just hanging out with the friends, the neighborhood friends, and then I'd come back, and that would be a good day.
Being a grandpa, I sure wish those days would come back.
What's that?
I said being a grandpa, I
yeah.
sure wish those days would come back. The kids are spending too much time on screens and in their houses by themselves and not outside doing what you and I did as we grew up.
I remember traveling down to, where Nick's Roast Beef is right now, was in Richdale, where the North Beverly train station used to be an ice cream parlor there. I used to go get ice cream and travel down to the first Marshalls. That was in the United States and the world, actually. Going down there and just hanging out and then walking back home and calling a little mischief a little bit. But it was a lot of innocent, but a smaller community.
Different day, different time.
Yeah.
What would you say are the top couple of things that growing up here in Beverly shaped you to become the person that you are today?
That's a big question, but family is a big part of that. But I think my faith too. I went to St. John's Elementary, then I went on to Beverly High School. I think that kind of laid the foundation of what got involved. But it's funny, a lot of my family members were never involved in the community. My parents were from Saugus, and had the youngest of 9. They moved to Beverly, and just in a very simple life. So how I really got involved to love Beverly was kind of an interesting piece, kind of having grown up and being the youngest of 9 and getting involved.
Sure.
The name of our program is Around Town with Rotary, and I don't think anybody exemplifies that more than Tim Flaherty. When you think about someone who's around town in Beverly, it's Tim Flaherty. I know you're involved in a lot of things, but when you're a young guy growing up here, when did it start occurring to you that, gee, I think I'd like to do things in the community that will really benefit the community? Because obviously you've been such a fixture here, but when did that start dawning on you that, gee, maybe I'd like to get involved in some things like that?
It's interesting, going to St. John's, you kind of, that was the world, right? You went there, like anybody went to elementary school, that was your kind of world. Yeah. And I remember going to Beverly High School and getting introduced, and we had 4 or 5 people from St. John's, St. Mary's, and a couple other schools, and all these public school kids. And they said, okay, all the private kids stand up. And I looked around, it was like 4 or 5 of us. I'm like, I don't know anybody in here, but that's going to change. and I remember going to, in 8th grade, going to my first Beverly-Salem football game over in Salem. And I saw like 10, 12,000 fans around here. And I'm like, well, I could get used to this. So I petitioned my father to send me and my sister to Beverly High. They all went to Bishop Fenwick, my brothers and sisters, 7 of them. And so he goes, yeah, he knew Roy Norden, he played football with him at BC, and he called him up and he goes, what do you think about Beverly High? And the rest is history. I went in there and did a lot of great things, but that was probably my first thoughts about how I can make a difference. I did it at Beverly High. I did something that was kind of a little off the beaten path. I was captain of the football team, and I had called the the principal of Salem High School with help of like Tony Wicki, who was a teacher, about doing this thing called Bridging the Gap. There was a lot of vandalism between Beverly and Salem, tens of thousands of dollars and I said, it's taken away from the game. Can we stop this? And we actually stopped that all the vandalism, and
Wow.
now they still, 30, 40 years later, still get together with Beverly and Salem football captains and the band and the cheerleaders and kind of denounce that. They've kind of expanded it over the time. But
That's awesome.
I kind of said to myself, in leadership positions, you can really make a positive difference. And I just love Beverly, and I just take a lot of pride in that. And that's how I just continue to stay involved.
Yeah, well, that was a great tradition, and I'm glad they've been able to maintain that and maintain that spirit. Hey, you've been in Beverly for a long time. You probably have seen some things that have remained pretty much the same, but like every community, Beverly has evolved over time. There's been a lot of changes. What are a few things that you see that have kind of remained the same? What are some things that you see have changed over time?
Well, I guess the icons of Lynch Park, Dane Street, Old Bear, the farms, the downtown, the Cove, North Beverly, Ryleside. I love those little communities when they can makes Beverly special, and I think that's kind of exciting. That's kind of I think stayed the same. And I guess growing up, when I grew up in North Beverly, that was my community. And getting older, going through high school and college, and going through in Beverly and growing up in a family myself. You see bigger things, obviously, what Beverly has, but and those things have stayed the same, which makes Beverly special. It's a nice, people have always said it's a town. I mean, it's a city officially, but people think of it as a town, because you have Salem, to our south, and then you have Hamilton, Wenham, Manchester, and Danvers. It's like Beverly's like a melting pot of those communities, and I think Beverly has always had that kind of attitude about being from Beverly and being a little different than the others. Things that have stayed the same. Is that right?
Well, yeah, you talked about things they'd say, but what are some things that have changed? Obviously,
I think at any town, they say that people in the old days, people never left the communities, and I think a lot of people grew up in Beverly and stayed in Beverly. But I think over the years, people come and go. People, unfortunately, they die. People move. I think you see that more of a transient society, and I think there's which is good. It brings in some change, some positive change. And I think people coming into the community has kind of adapted to traditional, values that I love and proud of in Beverly. But it's also changed a little bit. I think the people, like anything, have adapted, but also changed Beverly a little bit.
more traffic and lights. And
Well,
things
that's one thing is, yeah, there's definitely more traffic, more lights. I mean, although Beverly hasn't changed dramatically population-wise, it's hovered around 42,000 over the past 25 years. But I think more people have cars. Like when I grew up, we had one car in our family of 9. Now every kid has a car.
That's right.
And that's just the way it is. And it makes it that people are out there, and now I think people who are now in Beverly and surrounding communities, people working from home. I see a lot of people at the Y that that might be coming in at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, that might be working from home and taking a break. You never saw that before, so I think that kind of adds to it.
Sure.
Absolutely. Tell us about the Flaherty clan.
Flaherty clan. Well, I'm the young, my mother and father grew up in Saugus, but I'm the youngest of 9. And very, very proud of that. Although you had to get the scraps. Although my sisters and my brothers, they would take us to the beach, take us everywhere. So they became like surrogate parents sometimes, and they would leave me alone sometimes. We're like, hey, don't forget about me. But a big Irish Catholic family, and I have taken some of those values, traditions, and try to raise my own children that way. I have 4. Children, but they're adult children now. I keep on forgetting that they're 29, 30, 31 kind of thing, and it's just amazing that they have. But I'm very fortunate to have such good kids who went through here, and I married Ann Riemann, now Flaherty, some 35 years later, but she's a teacher here at Beverly High School, and all the kids went through there. I was worried about how that was going to go, and having mom and at the school at the same time. But and they saw me involved in so many different things about the community. And I try to set that good example of giving back.
Well, you sure have set quite an example of that. And one of those four, I believe, is getting married at some point next year.
Yeah, my daughter, Mary Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting married next year here in Beverly. Marrying a kid. She met up at UNH. And my first son too, Brendan, married his Holy Cross sweetheart too. So you know how it goes. You never know when you're going to meet your significant other. But yeah,
Never know.
she's getting married next year. So that should be a lot of fun.
That's exciting.
Congratulations.
That's
That's
very
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Y. So, how long have you been involved with the Y?
Well, it's interesting. I've been involved for many years because my first job was the McPherson Youth Center, which was city-owned, and then there was a deficit, and we kind of got together with the Y in the city, and we created the Beverly Youth Collaboration, which had the city and the Y join, and that was like the late 1990s, 96, 97. And so I was involved in that, and I decided to run the Cabot Street Y. So then I did a few other things in my professional life. And I ran the Cape Ann Y up in Gloucester for 10 years and built a beautiful Y up there. And then my boss, Chris Lavasco, said, hey, listen, we want you to come back to Beverly to run the Greater Beverly Y. And I was a little hesitant, honestly, at first because having been involved, like going to church or going to Stop and Shop, it's like the job never ends.
Yeah.
So I guess I own that, and it kind of makes me a better director of the Greater Beverly Y. But it just makes Beverly a better community. So I have no problem doing that.
Absolutely. And you're pretty damn good at it, I might add, for sure.
I have a lot of help.
Well, Tim, earlier we asked you a little bit of how Beverly has evolved and changed. I'm sure the Y has evolved and changed too in all the years you've been involved there. What are some things that have happened over the years that the Y maybe has increased their mission or adapted in different ways?
Well, that's a great question because, in Beverly, it started in 1892. And I haven't been around for that long, but it's evolved since then. And since I've been involved, it's always been housing, but now instead of having 45 units of housing down at Cabot Street, that grew to 67. Now we're throughout Beverly, 300, 400 individuals that the Y houses in Beverly. So you've seen that part. You've seen the traditional swimming and basketball that the Y's always been a part of. But now the Y is involved in, cancer surviving programs called Cornerstone that they're never involved in. You have people with autism learning how to swim in Beverly. Not just in Beverly, but throughout the North Shore. A great program that this guy Jerry Justice runs for us. And because kids with autism, that's a leading cause of death. Is not learning how to swim. So we have a program for that. It was actually nationally recognized. So we're doing programs that outside the norm and trying to meet the needs of the Beverly and surrounding communities. So that's how the Y's evolved, how the communities evolved, the Y's evolved.
Well, that's great. And the Y helps families in so many different ways. What are maybe a couple things about the Y that the average person wouldn't realize? I mean, I go there to work out, and people have their certain perceptions of what the Y does. Or are there a few things that the average person probably isn't even aware that they get involved in? The Y
Well,
does?
when they walk through the doors of say the Greater Beverly Y and you go to Sterling Center, we had actually just put a little bit of a mural up in the main lobby, and people walk by and they look at it and they said, "We didn't know you guys did childcare." They go, "What's that? That's the building up the top?" I said, "Yeah, we have 200 kids in early learning. And we're also have 600 kids in the after-school program." So people don't even realize that they know we do basketball and they see a pool, they know we do that, but they don't realize that we're in the child care business. And until they actually see it, see the building, and they're amazed. That's probably the biggest thing that people see. I mean, that we have gymnastics, but I think, again, like all the smaller programs, like enhanced fitness, helping senior citizens come there and get fit. We have a program right now. We help out with people with Parkinson's. A lot of elderly people are living longer. People are coming down with more ailments, and so we have a great program and have people who are trained specifically to help people with Parkinson's. So you wouldn't have seen that at the Y 20 years ago, and now we see that with an aging population. We see us helping not only the infants, but we also help the seniors and everybody in between.
Oh, that's
I think it's
awesome.
important to mention, I don't mean to interrupt
Yeah.
you, Mike, but I think this is such a great thing that the Y should talk more about. Of those 200 kids, if I have my statistics correct, there is a big percentage of them that the Y supports financially to be able to be in that program. Is that correct?
Correct, 50%.
Wow. Is
So,
it 50? Wow.
So we have 15,000 members when we're growing, but also the need is growing. And we gave away this year over $1 million, $1.6 million to this year to help people in need so they can go to camp. Some kids don't have that experience, learning, teaching kids how to swim, the essentials, having childcare. It's so important for parents to kind of work, and childcare can be expensive, so be able to get that assistance is huge. And people don't know, when you look at these beautiful buildings, they're like, geez, does Y really need our help? And it's like the people inside them do, and the families do, and Rotary and people in the community have been so good supporting that. And I always say that we're a pretty effective nonprofit in making a difference. What would life in Beverly be without the Y? And
Great question.
and I didn't grow up with the Y myself, but I've learned to see what an impact the Y does in making a difference in Beverly, and it's the
The Y
families.
provides really a broad safety net across so many different sectors within the city, and we're so grateful to have you there. Hey, everybody at home, we're just going to take a really quick break. We're going to allow you to watch a little 2 or 3 minute video that just talks about some of the people in Rotary and some of the great projects and charities and activities we're involved in. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes on the other side. Thank you.
We raise a lot of money for Beverly organizations.
And they bought us our refrigerated van.
They made a significant contribution to the restoration of Ellis Square.
They helped us house a family experiencing homelessness.
They bought us our bookmobile.
They were actually the first ones to donate instruments to the high school band.
They bought oxygen masks for our rescue dogs.
They helped buy our school bus.
They fund the annual Brad Gage Ice Cream Social at Lynch Park every summer, and they even scoop the ice cream.
Since 2014, they've supported the Cabot, funding preservation of this historic gem.
They helped to fund the Council on Aging van.
They were a major donor to our new infant toddler playground.
They bought an emergency generator for Harbor Lighthouse.
We funded and built the gazebo.
And we've got a green thumb.
A lot of green thumbs.
A lot of green thumbs.
Not to mention sculptures.
We planted more than 100 trees last year.
They donated a shuttle bus stop that brings veterans to the VA hospital in Bedford.
We're going to buy a water drone to clean plastics out of Beverly Harbor.
They make a big difference for United Way.
We give up to 8 scholarships.
8 scholarships every year since the mid-1980s.
And I was a recipient, and thanks to their help, I was the first in my family to go to college.
It's more than just a local organization.
There are 33,000 clubs
in 200 countries with 1.2 million members worldwide.
All that good adds up.
Those do-gooders just keep doing good.
We funded 13 wells in Kisumu, Kenya, bringing water to 13 schools.
We contributed to Kalusha School in Pakistan, and later to the construction of a fabulous women's college.
Hi, I'm Izzy Polito. I'm Mirabella Polito. I'm Andrea Polito. And we're all youth exchange students.
We started the youth exchange program 13 years ago, partly because I was also an exchange student in 1979.
I'm Aku. I'm from Finland. They hosted me as exchange student.
We funded Dr. Gordon Sato of Hamilton, who devised a way to grow trees in salt water in Senegal, Mauritania, and Eritrea.
Our club has funded at least 20 life-changing surgeries around the world.
And we've participated as non-medical volunteers.
In the Philippines.
In Bolivia.
And Venezuela.
And remember,
since launching the Polio Plus campaign over 30 years ago, the number of polio cases worldwide has dropped 99%.
In 2019, clubs in the district joined the Polar Plunge to eradicate polio. The clubs raised $90,000.
Can we get back to Beverly, please?
Over the past 10 years, we've raised, probably about $100,000. Try $400,000.
Over the past 10 years, we've raised over $1 million.
I have made some wonderful friends.
It's downright inspiring.
It's an important part of my week.
It's a very important part of my week.
Sometimes it's the best part of my week.
It's one of the best things I do.
Even if people still ask about the secret handshake.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with our guest today, Tim Flaherty, Executive Director of the Beverly Y and current President of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. Tim, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
having you here. Now, you've been pretty active in the community. I think that is an understatement. So let's talk about a few of the organizations and the activities that you've been involved with. And let's start with your tenure on the City Council, please.
Yes, it's funny. I did 2 stints actually, but total of about 20 years.
Wow.
You know, a few of, council president, and that was nice. So I could rearrange the meetings. I actually changed the meeting schedule. We used to meet like 3 times a week in committees, and I kind of borrowed the state how they did things, and I put the committee structures all on one night, so it was easier for the people in the community to attend. So if they say, is that Tuesday, is that Wednesday? They knew the city council would meet in either subcommittee or full council, and they still do it today to make it run a little bit more efficiently.
Good
and
job.
so I did that for 20 years, and it's funny, I first got elected on the Charter Commission in the late 20s. And I look at my kids at that age, it's kind of funny. And then I ran for, council at large with 2 open seats, did really well, and I've been involved in this. I just stopped a few years ago, but did that for 20 years, and had the building that we're in here, Beverly High School right now, where BevCam is. Very proud of being part of that. Building a brand new high school and the elementary schools, and a lot of great things happen in those 20 years to make Beverly a better community.
Absolutely, and as a citizen and a taxpayer in this city, we were lucky to have you for those 20 years. I would add.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Tell us about your work with Homecoming, Beverly Homecoming.
Yeah, it's funny. In my first stint with the Y, there wasn't going to be a homecoming, and because there was some misused funds for whatever reason, and so I went to my then boss Jack Meany, who was running the North Shore YMCA, and Mayor Scalen at the time, and I said, listen, I'd like to be a part of that, as part of my job, because we can't not have a homecoming, and so they both agreed. I said, we got to figure this out, but the problem was it was like May, or April, and we need to find time. So I had to go to these meetings, a young guy coming in there and saying to all these people who have been involved in homecoming, and said, okay, we're going to have meetings, but they're going to be efficient. we're going to run an hour, and we're going to get things done. And we were so fortunate to have. I was president for homecoming for a number of years, but we raised a lot of money. Cumming Center gave us $20,000 at the time, and a bunch of businesses stepped up. I'm sure Rotary did at the time to make a difference and basically save homecoming. Because once you lose something, it's tough to bring it back.
Yeah,
so we're able to kind of do that. And again, I might have been the president of homecoming, but it was so many people that collectively made it happen. So
It's
it's
still
fun.
going on to this day.
Yeah,
Right.
getting
Yeah,
better.
homecoming is such an important part of the cultural, piece of Beverly, and something to look forward to every year. So
Absolutely.
thanks for your efforts to keep that moving. Hey, you're also active in the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. You're president this year, is that correct?
Yes, actually, I'll be president next year too. So I got 2 years stint.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that. How long have you been involved, and what are some of the things you do that relate to that?
Well, when I came back to run the Greater Beverly Y, I invited the Greater Beverly Chamber to come back to have their meetings at the Y. I didn't know that would kind of, have me becoming a member and be on the board. A few things happened, and then became president. And I just take that on like what I've done when I was president of the city council, or how I run the Y. I just try to be myself and show that passion of why I think the chamber, how it's so important into the community, because having a good chamber, you're supporting local businesses, which ultimately make the city of Beverly better community. They go hand in hand. People sometimes forget that, because you want to have a strong downtown, you want to have a strong North Beverly and Valley Farms, and people who work in there, most of them live in Beverly, so I think it's important to have a strong chamber of commerce that works effectively with city government, and has that kind of influence that can have a positive effect on Beverly.
That's awesome. And obviously here we are, 3 Rotarians. This is the Beverly Rotary TV show, but along the way you were introduced to Rotary. Tell us a little bit about that. Who introduced you, and how long have you been involved?
Well, it's funny. I've been involved for, again, when I was at the Y, when I first got involved many years ago, And with Tom Alexander was one of the first ones that got me involved in the late 90s. And then I went to Gloucester, and I actually was involved in the Gloucester Rotary for about 10 years. And then I came back to Beverly. I just knew that I needed to get involved. And Al, I think you're the one who got me involved and back into Beverly Rotary. And so it's a natural for me. When you're at the Y and you're a leader in the community and a leading business community, you need to be involved in Rotary, with the Chamber or the Rotary, because the Rotary does so many great things. I mean, not just internationally, but locally. A lot of good intentions people have, but the Rotary makes those intentions into reality. And they raise money, they get people involved. Some people think it's, just get together for lunch, every Thursday. But you're really building community when you're part of Rotary. And it really makes a difference what you see where the money goes and what kind of difference it can have on families and businesses in the community. When you see a healthy Rotary, the community is healthy.
Yeah, well, that's terrific. I mean, obviously the Chamber has their place in bringing businesses together for networking. Rotary is less about business networking, more about service and helping the community.
Absolutely, but together with the Chamber and the Rotary, I mean, communities just don't happen. The people make them happen.
Exactly.
And the people in Rotary that you see that I saw 20 years ago, or it's someone who's new. It's about building community, and the Rotary does such a great things about whether it's getting involved in the ring belling that you do for the Salvation Army.
Yep.
The bell ringing, yeah. And then getting involved whether it's something planting gardens or getting involved in so many great things. I remember last year helping feed the needy at St. Peter's, and it's such and you see a lot of the same people, but those are the kind of things you feed off each other. And without those leaders and the people in Rotary, you wouldn't be able to. Beverly wouldn't be as strong as it is. And sometimes Rotary is in the background, and people are like, "What is Rotary? What is that?" You're always trying to kind of like the Y. Like, what does the Y do? You're constantly educating people about what Rotary is, and then when they find out what Rotary is, or the recipient of their funds that we do in the community to raise money, then they're a little bit more like, "Oh, now I understand how Rotary works in the community. It's just neighbors helping neighbors."
Isn't that the truth? And there's no better feeling than being in a position to be able to help somebody who just really needs a handout for a short time or sometimes a long time, and being the person or the organization, Rotary, Chamber, whatever, to be able to do that, right? What a great,
and then
a
sometimes you see people who have been helped from Rotary give back to Rotary in some other ways,
right.
10 years down the line.
Right.
That's the beauty of it, right?
Now, we're going to add some pictures. You sent some pictures in. We're going to add those pictures in. Can you just kind of give us a synopsis as to what these pictures, why these pictures, and what they mean to you?
Yeah, I just threw a few pictures together. I'm not great at organizing all the pictures, so I had a little help with it, some of my coworkers. But I had some pictures of, actually one of the pictures was with one of my sons holding a YMCA basketball, Brendan, who went on to play football at Holy Cross and had a wonderful career there. But it was with Mayor Scanlon at the time at the old Ball Street Teen Center at the Cummings Center. And it was just kind of a cool picture. I just thought it was like, 30 years ago, and as he was an infant. And I'm still involved doing different things. And then I put some other pictures of my Y involvement and helping out with a program called Project Y, where we get all the teenagers, hopefully in Beverly, 200 kids, that they go out and do community service. And there was a picture of that. There's also a picture of the youth center too, groundbreaking that this happened a year or so ago, and hopefully in the spring we can talk later about that. But the idea of having a nice youth center is great. And there's a couple other pictures about how I've been involved, and actually one of them is a couple family pictures. And one of the pictures I had to put it in there, but I just got back from Ireland. I shouldn't have got back. This past summer, went to Ireland for the first time. And I brought all my kids and their significant others, and me and Annie took them all over there. And having never been over there, it was a blast. And having them being adults, they kind of take care of the parents a little bit sometimes, how that works. But it was a blast, and not have to worry about anything. It was just kind of nice.
I'm sure your face fit right in an eye.
There were a few Flaherty bars I went to.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Tim, what are you most proud of?
I guess it's my family. There's a lot of things you do in life, and to make Beverly a better community. But I guess in some ways I did it for my children. I wanted to make Beverly better, not only for my own children, but for future generations. But I guess in today's day and age, having 4 children is not always an easy feat, And you don't do it alone. Your community does it, but you also have to be a parent. And I'm not going to go down that road, but sometimes parents need to be parents today, right? Yeah. And I feel proud of that fact that we were positive parents. We raised good children, and they give back to the community. They were so successful academically, much better than I was, but also athletically too. And all 4 of them gave back. They were so involved at the high school here, so involved in the community. It's amazing that, I think of my daughter, Mary Kate, who has run a couple marathons to raise money for ALS, who my father passed away of ALS 25 years ago. But, of course, the Flaherty's family. It's just, so seeing her do those type of things, and my 3 sons do those, and see her, they feed off each other, and that they're great friends, they hang out together, they go skiing together. I look back and go, you know what? If I did anything right, I did that right.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Beautiful family.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful family. Yeah. Yep. Great. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about the youth center. Actually, you know what we're going to do? I just noticed the time. I apologize. I wasn't watching. So we're going to close the show right now.
Yeah.
And so for all of you, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this show is aired monthly. We always have a Rotarian in front of us to talk with and interview with. And if you want to learn more things about what the great Beverly Rotary Club does, please visit our website. I always say this wrong, BeverlyRotaryClub.com. Thank you for joining us, Tim. Thank you so much for being here. Mike, it's always a pleasure. Have a great day.